down there, and then we drove down to the Navy Pier.
No, they're not. They're wood or something.
Пластик. Пенопласт, короче. Понятненько. А выглядят прям как настоящие. Особенно вот эти.
Lighthouse all the way down at the end of the pier right here.
Ага.
We got time to walk down there.
Hello.
In front of you.
Hello. Сейчас 9 утра, а тут до сих пор ни души. Здание 916-го, кажется, года. Непонятно. Сюда мы не дойдем, там очень далеко идти до начала пирса. Не успеем, мы ждем нашу экскурсию. Ветер просто вообще действительно, гляньте, вот прям, как говорится, in the middle of nowhere.
Ты видишь, они мамочка в гуськом будет. Раз, два и три.
Окей.
Got about an hour. 9:46.
Здесь вечером красиво. Некоторые места, вот как здесь, например, возле лавочки, там внутри будут огонечки. Да, тут фонтанчики работают обычно. Ну, когда люди появляются. Это рано еще. Хотя, боже мой, почти 10. Да. Когда здесь темно, здесь кажется вообще такое огромное пространство с этими пальмами. А при дневном свете, ну, совсем чуть-чуть. Очень тепло здесь все еще. И это, учитывая еще то, что это Чикаго, здесь немножко прохладнее, чем в Мичигане обычно. Вот здесь будут фонарики гореть и создавать такую романтическую обстановочку. А мы все ждем. Гуляем. На голове кошмар. Ветер сумасшедший на улице, просто невозможно. Да, Бонего? А что ты в маске? Тут нет никого кроме нас. Окей, пошли гулять. Куда? Такой мамы. И гляньте на его глазки. Кажется, сейчас так и клацнет зубами.
Today we'll see the legacy of some of the giants of Chicago's architecture, visionaries who wrote their stories in stone and steel. And I've been telling their stories on shoreline boats myself for 21 years. My name is Kevin, I'll be your docent. Now, I'm not originally from Chicago, I'm not a native Chicago, and I grew up on this other thing. The Regis comes to us from a young woman architect, Jeannie Gang, her company, Studio Gang. And she's topped out at 1,198 feet. And guess what? That makes this tall residential building the third tallest building in Chicago, and Jeannie Gang gets the title, the tallest building in the world by a woman planned for contextual style. Architecture does not happen in a vacuum. You want to be site-specific to your neighborhood. Smith makes this building fit in much better by the use of setbacks, which are those step-like recessions in the profile of Building 3. Architect Daniel Burnham oversaw the creation of an entire temporary city called the White City, inspired in the revivalist style out of Paris, France, where architects went to the cradle of Western civilization, Greece, Rome, France, Spain. Classic architecture to inspire the population. And I can show you what the World's Fair looked like right now. Right there, the clock tower building planned forward. We've wanted the river to become a second lakefront. It took over 150 years, but we're doing it today. See all the little amenities on the Riverwalk. You're going to see a lot. We got a $98 million federal transportation infrastructure improvement grant, and then when we rebuilt this roadway, which is called Wacker Drive, bi-level, upper level gets you through the city, work road underneath, we piggybacked on that and did all these new little amenities. And between each bridge, it's like a different little room, a different theme. The influence of the World's Fair again, beautiful building with cupola dome water tanks, the Jewelers Building, 1926, inspired by a 15th century Italian monastery, the Certosa de Pavia. Movie fans might remember Christian Bale as Batman, haunched up there in Batman Begins, looking out over Gotham City. That's what Chicago served at in the Batman Begins movie. Now, you see the black box on the right, AMA Plaza? I bet you're most familiar with that style, modernism. Modernism was born in the Bauhaus. Nothing was out here. The river was totally industrial, but people who worked downtown wanted to live downtown, so Goldberg gave them a complete city with 4 restaurants, a bowling alley, a swimming pool, a bank. That's George Jetson space-age parking, and your living space upstairs. Goldberg used to claim those 2 buildings were the most photographed buildings in the world when they first... Oh, let's look at this squat building directly to our left, 55 West Wacker Drive. I think it helps us stare at to understand its style. Structures, they go a little over the top of those rustic kind of heavy forms. But brutalism wanted to give your institution a sense of lasting forever. Yeah? So you see that with like university campuses and public libraries. I joined a Facebook page the other day called the Brutalism Appreciation Society. And people put up pictures of hideous concrete from all over the world, and then they argue about whether it's truly brutalist or not. It is a fun pastime. Now, coming up on the right, my friends, step back with me to 1914, the Reid Murdoch Center, a former warehouse thriving as an industrial-sized restaurant in River Rose today. The architect George Neiman's Wright, Frank Lloyd Wright, was associated with the prairies in downtown Chicago. That left you with brick, masonry. But a load-bearing exterior brick wall must increase 6 inches at the base for every new floor it needs all your floor space. So in 1885, streamlined and massive at the same time, the style put the roar of the roaring 20s, Art Deco. This is the Chicago Merchandise Mart. When I say Art Deco, think the Jazz Age, the Great Gatsby. It's a showplace for grand architecture. And the building right to your left is the one that started it. 333 West Wacker Drive. The New Veen Building, 1983. Now, can you see? This is what I was talking about, contextualism. Everything is relating to the river. The art tries to follow the bend to the bank. The glass reflects architectural skyline. That building was in 1983. Let's say it set the bar really, really high. It said, if you're going to build around me, you bring your A game. And everybody did. Of course, now we have the Wolf Point Tower Complex. Wolf Point South will soon be named Salesforce Center. Any California friends know that Salesforce just is the tallest building in the Bay Area. And look directly ahead of you at the River Point building with the arch. The sculptures by Santiago Calatrava. They added an arch at River Point basically to say, hey, we're special. This is where the three branches of the river meet. And then look how the arch is complemented with an inverted parabola up there at the top. I love little kids. Little kids look at this building, they absorb the entire building, and they say, Kevin, you must call this the Hot Pockets Sandwich Building. And when little kids did that, I said, brilliant. Why? Because when you give a building a nickname, there's a lot more going on. What you're doing is taking something from a common experience. For the kids, it's the shape of the sandwich. Reid was an architect and a sailor, and he understood the potential of the river. He would say water is a magnet. It draws people to it. I think Harry Reid understood that great bodies of water speak to our very soul. And if you don't have an ocean, the great blue, the azul, at home, there are days when you awake in Chicago with a smile and a prayer, and you will find yourself saying, oh, the river is enough. Hey, I'll leave you with that thought. Let's take a short south branch. Friends, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time in part one of the tour, and I'll be back shortly.
Another guy that you might have dinner with. Yeah, I'll pay for it. That's my fictional character right there. Imagine a site who's living right downtown. Willing to pay that
For the public. What that means is they start creating great parks. So let's look at the one coming up at River Point, the building with the arch. Now look, Jeff Beck, the rocker. You better drill down, 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 110 feet. That's when you hit bedrock. And so they sunk them 5 feet deeper than that. So that resides. I love when new architecture remembers the old. Because sometimes, in order to know where you're going in this life, friends, it doesn't hurt to look back at where you've been. Now we have a great Art Deco corridor coming up, friends, on either side. This on our left, photographers, there's a lot to catch here. The Civic Opera Building, the home to Chicago's Lyric Opera, 1929, the evolution of modern architecture over 30 years. I'm going to take you in a time machine. I'll check the radio from time to time to see if we're in the right decade. So let's start in the 60s. Superman or Green Lantern, ain't got nothing on me. We're definitely in the 60s. And that means, look on your right, twin black boxes. So what is that? That's pure modernism. I can even call it Mies. Mies van Gro's name is an adjective. And again, that's that idea. Skeleton, skin is replaced with a clad frame, so it gives it kind of just a little bit of a different look right there. Basically, the International School comes from the viewpoint the future moves too fast. We need one building, no historic precedent, homogeneous, so we can put everybody around the world in the same structure. And again, you know what basically happened? They often went big, gigantism as it was called, curved the building. Why? They're relating to the curve of the river. Beveled mirrored glass, they're relating to the architecture reflecting it. So basically we went from black boxes in the 60s to white boxes in the 70s to mirrored buildings in the 1980s. And today, modern contemporary architecture, it's all about that glass. Everything is contemporary, everything is transparent. And put themselves on it. For that red block is this very building. You are here. Who's with me? Isn't this better than GPS? Shouldn't all major cities have map buildings to get around? So the next time myself, mail, so the post office moved out in 1995. You know why we needed so much room for the mail? The mail order catalog business pretty much invented right here. You know whose regional office in Minneapolis, Minnesota? It's really sad. Otis Elevator, Minneapolis, they're in a one-story building. River City on our left reveals it through its curve. The man who thought outside the box, pun intended, Bertrand Goldberg, would often quote Antonio Gaudi, there are no right angles in nature. Now friends, gather around the campfire. And let old tour guide Kevin tell you about our spirit, our mental, our will. Imagine the day after the fire. 17,450 buildings are going in 36 hours. The builders don't wait. The fire happens on Sunday. The old school Chicagoans, I will tell you this, that building is always going to be Sears Tower. Although in 2009, London-based insurance brokerage, the Willis Group, took over 3 of 110 floors, and they wanted naming rights, and they gave it to them. So officially, that is now the Willis Tower. Sad to say, my friends, even we old school Chicagoans have accepted it. It is officially the Willis Tower. However, in downtown Chicago, you pronounce this word, W-I. There's a mural team from France, Peter and Ella, and they do these great works. Look at this one. It's called The Native American Lost in Chicago Dreaming. Now look how it incorporates the city, because look at the gaze. The eye of the figure in the mural is dreaming of Sears, looking straight at the statue right there. By the way, I mentioned John Storrs, the sculptor of Sears, every lights. Later this evening, when you see it illuminated against the dark and wondrous Chicago American night, you may hear Chicagoans calling it the White Castle. A nickname it earned because it makes us long for sliders, White Castle hamburgers. For the uninitiated, that's a rather famous Midwestern restaurant with a similar Gothic facade. I do not make a joke, my friends. In 2009, a White Castle executive from Columbus, Ohio, took my tour. I verified it. The White Castle design world calls you French Spider-Man. Alain Robert came to our Sears Tower in August in the jelly jar at the top of the mountain. With their permission, Alain Robert got to climb the tallest building in the world, Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Hey, would you do something with me? Humor me for a second. Can we all just try to understand the mind of this building climber, Alain Robert, how he must wake up every day and look at the universe? Because in its simplest definition, architecture is the way that we interact with and define the space within. That's the Boeing building in front of us on the left. The far corner of the horizontal portion overhangs the railroad switching yard. The cantilever is a projecting beam that can be anchored on one side and hold up the weight on the other, and that allows the crane to sneak underneath. And now, my favorite engineering story on the river is the building on our right. This is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange Center. Serrated corners, you know what that meant in the 80s? Double the number of corner offices. More people got to feel important for that very reason. First I heard people calling it the guillotine. I said, I see it, I don't care for it. Then someone called it the tuning fork. As the building wants to sway one way, the weight of the water, that's the inertia, brings it back. If the water goes in the opposite direction, you deaden the sway. The only other building that has those kind of tanks, the St. Regis Hotel, the very first building we looked at by Jeannie Gagnon. That noisy crane is the L, by the way, short for elevator. I remember the first time I took an L ride. It was 1892. We had it ready for the World's Fair of 1893. And you know, the need to make sure to get fresh air and sunlight all the way to the street level and doing a mashup. I mean, check it out. He's got a classic Greek temple-style roof porticos, pilasters like Greek columns, married to the classic wall of modernism. As we see it today, I think the modern glass really always catches your eye. Here's the deal. If you come back late at night, the mirrors tend to disappear, and the building starts looking like this ancient, mystical, hollow Greek temple. 45 degrees to the right, the checkerboard building is home to what's going on. The overhanging eaves. You can almost take the very top of that building down, give it a green lawn and a waterfall. It would look like a Frank Lloyd Wright prairie school. Wright fans, by the way, you can check this on your phone. Look up the Robie House and see if they're doing tours right now. R-O-B-I-E. That's a Frank Lloyd Wright building that's right in the city. It's right over by Soldier Field. And right now, silhouetted in front of us, 45 degrees and up, a dark green Art Deco building with a 24 karat gold. The Riverwalk is fully realized with this park on our right, my friends. For this little park is our Illinois Vietnam War Veterans Memorial and Wall, a favorite of Chicagoans. And now, 45 degrees and up again, like a rocket ship about to take off, more Apollo than SpaceX, is the skinniest skyscraper in Chicago, 75 East Wacker Drive. It's only 9.5 steps. Go to the Tribune Tower, and see the Geological Museum, which is embedded in the outside walls, McCormick's collection, a piece of the Taj Mahal, Westminster Abbey, Wrigley Field, and they're all embedded right there. 2 blocks down, you will find the water tower that we've been talking about. The little yellow castle that escaped the fire, right? Your visitors in it. When you find it, when you find the water tower, here it comes. Now, here's what I want to give you a cheap thrill. All you have to do is stand below that building and look up for 30 seconds. That's all it takes. And you know what will happen? You'll feel like you are flying even though your feet are on the ground. That's the power of art and architecture to move us. If you're feeling especially adventurous, visit Chicago 360 on the 95th floor. That's like a carnival ride. It's a glass box on the axle with a hydraulic motor. There's room for 8 people, so you get in, you hold on, they start the motor, and the glass box rotates. It tilts 30 degrees into thin air. Change I talked about, and then the cladding outside for fireproofing, but it always emphasized the skeletal structure. Everything east here is called Civic jungle. With all the meatpacking plants and people use the rivers as sewer, which pollutes our drinking source, Lake Michigan, and Chicagoans are dying from typhoid and cholera. So to stop the river lake, an 11-year project finished in 1900, the Chicago Sanitary Canal is dug off the South Branch. After 8 years of digging, they take out more dirt than the Panama Canal. And using gravity as an aid, thank you, Sir Isaac Newton, we caused the river to reverse its current and flow backwards, saving our drinking water. Court cases brought against Chicago by every Great Lakes state and Canada for reversing the river and possibly allowing the Great Lakes, 20% of the fresh water on the planet, to drain unfettered to the Gulf. So through the I will spirit of Chicago, we caused the problem but fixed it by putting the locks in, and we actually monitor it. They have a way of measuring in barrels per day just how much water is allowed to escape. Nelson Algren said giants lived here once. Kevin Del Burro says giants live here now. So I'm not on the boat giving tours. I walk the streets of my beloved city looking for giants, and I find them. One picture's worth 1,000 words for the melody. The words are my own. I'm Chicago bound. I'm Chicago bound. They try to burn it down, so I'm Chicago bound. They try to burn it down, we'll build it right back up, and I'm Chicago bound. The river runs downhill. The river runs downhill. The people shout, I will. The river runs downhill. The river runs downhill. The people shout, I will. And I'm Chicago bound.
Corn towers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Well,